Welcome to the Views Unfolded podcast, episode 10. Today I'm sitting in front of a view of Gothenburg in my car because it's too cold to sit outside again. In this episode, I want to speak about boundaries, setting boundaries with family members, friends, lovers. How do we set boundaries and why is it so important? Do you ever feel like people keep stepping on your privacy, stepping on your boundaries, not respecting you the way that you want them to respect you, not taking your no as an answer? It's a very hard feeling to navigate, and it's difficult to tell people your boundaries because sometimes we don't even know ourselves what our boundaries are. I think oftentimes it's the people who are closest to us who tend to step on our boundaries because strangers that don't know you don't know how you're going to react if they do something that you don't want them to do. While as family members and close friends or your partner know where your limits go and they know what they're going to expect from you when they step on a boundary. So that's why they don't have a big problem doing it. They've become so used to it. They've become so used to you forgiving their overstepping, not taking any action on their overstepping. And I think it's also because these people are the ones who are the most comfortable with us. But just because you're comfortable with someone doesn't mean that you're allowed to overstep. And these are also the people that we are afraid to say no to. We don't want to hurt them. We don't want them to feel like our relationship suddenly changed or our dynamics suddenly changed. But if you've realized that you're not feeling well in certain relationships with family members, as I said, or close friends, but you don't want to let go of these people because they are your closest people. But at the same time, you're not feeling good in the relationship because you keep getting disrespected. Then it's time to take some action. It's time for you to reframe all of these relationships that you have, perhaps one at a time, or tackle them all at the same time. Perhaps you're no longer the person you were when you were a teenager or when you were young. And oftentimes I feel like the people who we've known the longest somehow tend to recognize us as the people we've always been. So why would we be any different now? But the reality is we can't be the same people that we are in our 20s and 25 and up as we were when we were 16 or teenagers or even children. We've grown, we've changed, we've learned about ourselves, what we want, what we don't want, how we want people to treat us, what people we want to let into our lives, all of that, which we didn't know at the early stages of our lives. So if your family, for example, recognizes you as a people pleaser, maybe they're not even aware of the people pleasing term, but they're just aware of you being the person who never says no, the person who always goes out and runs errands for them or fits their schedule, and the person who is willing to say yes to everything that they ask. And the one time that you say, no, I'm not feeling up to that, and you set your boundary, they get so confused because this is not the sibling or the child that they know. But the difference is you're a grown up now and you get to set your own boundaries and you get to tell people to not overstep them, including your family members. I'm touching on family most because I feel that this is the most sensitive and the most difficult group of people in your life that you are going to set boundaries with. Maybe you don't want them to be involved in everything that you do in life. And somehow our family members sometimes feel like they're entitled to know everything that goes on in our life. But maybe you've decided that you want to keep some things for yourself. You want to give yourself time before you share them with them, before you get the strong opinions from them, because you don't know yet what you want. Maybe you have a family that lurks. They try to figure things out. What is going on in your life? Who are you dating? Where are you going? What time are you getting home, even though you don't live with them anymore? And it's funny because I think parents do that to even 30 plus children. You don't even live at home and they still want to know what time you're getting home. And I know so many people who just don't tell their parents that they're going out one night because they don't want to get the question, when are you getting home, even though they're not even living in their house anymore. But it stems from the security that your parents want to provide for you, which they did all their lives. And now all of a sudden things change for them and you're no longer in their house. They don't know how to protect you. They don't know how to secure that you're back on time or that you're coming home safe. But to you, even though it comes from a good place, to you, it becomes like a trauma response somehow. You start feeling like a teenager again, like they're controlling your life and you're not allowed to stay out as long as you want to stay out, even though you're a fully grown person. So then you just avoid telling them. But with that, you're not telling them the truth. You're not setting your boundary and letting them know that you cannot know what time I'll be home. That's my business. Maybe I don't even know what time I'm coming home, but that's my business. And the thing is, when you don't set that boundary, how are they supposed to know? They will keep coming at you with the same question, trying to control you with the same type of control they've had over your life when you were a child, because you never set that boundary. You never told them that things have changed. So it becomes unfair to both parties when you think about it. Because perhaps you start distancing yourself from your family instead. You don't call them as much because you don't want to get all the questions. So then you have less contact with them, and then they get more worried. So then they keep pressuring you even more. Why are you not calling? Why are you not coming over? We don't know anything about your life. What's going on? So it's simply better that you just tell them from the beginning in the best possible way that you can, that you have changed or you don't want those questions anymore. And why I say in the best possible way is because when we don't know how to get something across, we tend to perhaps overdo it or become a bit aggressive and tell them off instead of telling them kindly that, you know what, I appreciate where your concerns are coming from, but I'm not ready to share that yet, or I don't want to get these questions anymore, so please don't ask them anymore. Or I don't feel up to coming over this weekend because I have other plans, or I don't even have plans, but I just want to sit by myself. And I think in many different cultures, we have parents that don't understand the I want to be alone part. They will start thinking that you're depressed or why do you want to be alone? What happened? But for you, it's just about resting from the whole week that you've just had. Or perhaps you just don't feel like talking to anyone because you don't. Or with friends, it goes the same way with them because the things that we need to set boundaries with friends on are also a lot of questions that we get that perhaps we're not ready to answer, or they feel like they need to know everything, you need to tell them everything. Or when you're making plans, they get upset if you don't want to go out and meet them right now, or you're not available at that time. that they are available and you're not fitting their schedule. And perhaps, again, you've always been that people pleaser who has gone around everybody else's schedule. But this time you're done with it. This time you truly want to set your foot down, and you're allowed to do that. So it's the same principle with friends as it is with family members when it comes to pleasing their time and pleasing their control and their questions. And sometimes with friends, it's also about wanting some space, wanting some privacy. And when we get very close to someone, again, we feel entitled to know everything about them, or we also feel obligated to tell them everything and call them up for the least amount of stress that we have in our life. But if you're tired of people stressing you up over their problems or their things that are becoming a bit too much for you because you have your own things going on now, and they keep calling you about what happened with the guy they're meeting, the girl they're meeting, and it's very frequently like you get these phone calls every day, or you have to get involved in their lives very oftenly. Perhaps you're in a period where you just want peace. You just want to have your own things to deal with, and you don't want to have the burden of someone else's problems. I mean, that can sound a bit mean, but if you've experienced this, you will know why I'm saying it. Because some people have friends who are a different level of toxic. People have friends who call them 3 times per day or every day about the same issue that are a bit irrelevant for you, but all of a sudden they've become a part of your life. And you don't want to have that anymore because it causes you a lot of stress. Maybe you have your own things happening to you that you want to work on. So now you're working on both your friends and your own problems. And you want to set the boundary that you can't be there all the time for them. But at the same time, you know that you're not going to get a good response back. You're not going to get a good reaction because you don't want them to feel like you're telling them that they can't share their problems with you. But at the same time, you're hurting yourself when you're being available to everybody all the time to just dump things on you. No, you have to set the boundary and set the record straight that perhaps you need some time by yourself. Perhaps by not picking up all the calls or immediately answering to all the messages, you also send off the message that I am not so available all the time to you. So setting boundaries doesn't always have to be that you tell people about your boundary with words. Sometimes your actions also set the boundaries. And perhaps that's the first thing that you need to do because action speaks louder than words, and nobody will know how serious you are until you actually take the steps and the action to match your words. So if you feel like you want to take some distance from people around you because you don't want to be the people pleaser, you don't want to be available all the time, then you start taking action on it first. And then you maybe also avoid coming out of the blue with the words that you're telling them. Oh, I'm sorry, but I can't keep picking up all your calls. I can't keep being there all the time. I can't fit your schedule. I can't tell you everything. So then, because that can become a very hurtful conversation. And I think that that should be maybe the second step. If you first set a boundary by taking action, by backing off a little, still showing them love when you do speak, still showing them love when you do go out. So you're still the same person. You're still telling them and showing them that you love them, but you just cannot be as available anymore. And after that, if you get the question of why are you being so distant, or why are you not acting the same as you've always acted, why can you all of a sudden never meet up when I want to meet up, then you have to explain it to them that you've just chosen to prioritize your feelings right now and you're learning how to navigate your own life before you try to fit everybody else's life into yours. And I know that that can be very difficult because again, in many cultures, people are sometimes extra. It's a lot of feeling, is a lot of opinions, and it's difficult to just be the one who tells your closest ones that you cannot keep doing the same thing anymore, because you are going to get that reaction, you are going to get those questions and those maybe hurtful words, but you have to just stand your ground. And if that leads to you having to choose yourself over someone else, over a friendship or a relationship with someone, then you have to choose yourself. You have to stand firm in your boundary. And if that means that you're going to take some distance from this person because they're simply not getting it, then you have to take that distance. And if this person is truly your friend or truly a person that loves you, once they've gone through their feelings and once they're done being upset, and if they're still meant to be in your life and that relationship is meaningful to you, you will meet up again. They will kind of meet you halfway because they will prioritize to have you in their life with the boundaries rather than not having you in their life at all. So that means that you have to find the strength within you to accept that some relationships might take a toll and you might have to distance yourself completely from those relationships during a certain amount of time because it's the best thing to do, because otherwise they're never going to get it. And this, I think, is also a very natural process. So it's not like a line of events that need to happen for you to be able to change a relationship or set the boundaries. You just have to decide that you want to change the dynamics of a relationship. And once you take that first step and you do it with love, love for yourself first, but also love for them, then the other pieces will fall into place slowly. Even if everything falls out of place first, meaning that you are not going to be available to this person at all during an amount of time because they reacted very badly to you setting the boundary, or it just automatically becomes like that. You take the distance, they take the distance. I think that gives you time to reflect and think and grow apart to see if you fit together, because obviously you're not fitting together right now. Obviously, if you're getting anxiety from friends and family every time you're with them or every time you talk with them, then it's not a healthy place to be at. So that means that you have to change that reality. You have to set the boundaries. You have to tell them about the boundaries when it's time to tell them. And you cannot control their reaction to it, but you just have to choose yourself first. And as I said, if these people actually love you and respect you and want you to be part of their life and they want to be part of your life, then they will come to terms with them. Maybe it'll take more time than you expected. Maybe it'll go much better than you expected. Maybe they're gonna tell you that they were just very unaware that they were behaving like this, or they were unaware that you don't want that in your life anymore, all the questions, the controlling, because some people just aren't aware of the things that they're doing because you've never told them before. So that's just how it's always been. How are they supposed to know if you don't tell them, if you don't show them? So it can go both ways. It can be very easy or it can be hard. But either way, you have to be prepared to choose yourself and to understand that you're doing this from a loving place and that all the people that are meant to be in your life, as long as you're treating it with love and not with anger or negative energy, it will fall into place. Sometimes we're meant to lose some friends. Sometimes we're meant to not be as active with family members until the dynamics have changed. And with our partners, it's a bit different because this is your number one person. This is the person you want to share everything with. You want them to be happy. You want to be able to make them happy. But perhaps you're doing too much for them, too much to please them, and you're not pleasing yourself. You're putting all the effort You're doing things that you don't really want to do because you want to make them happy, whatever that might be. Maybe your partner is very needy and you keep wanting to meet their needs because you don't want to see them upset, but it's taking a toll on you because you are your own person as well. You have your own feelings to deal with, again, yourself. So when we feel this responsibility towards our partners, it's very important to communicate with each other, again, in a loving way, the same way you would do with family and friends, and just let them know that it's taking a toll on you by doing these things. And maybe it's even more sensitive to you because this is your number one person, as I said. But in a loving and healthy relationship, you have to be able to tell each other these things. You have to be able to work and navigate through the emotions and the different time periods that you go through together. And that's how you keep the relationship good. So you have to be open, you have to tell them, I cannot keep doing these things. I cannot keep being the one who always, perhaps, I don't know, goes and buys groceries or doesn't get time by themselves at home because the other person doesn't want to feel lonely. So you don't get to perhaps go away and read your books or go away and meet your friends because your partner is very needy. So then you have to tell them, always in a loving way, coming from a place of love and wanting to improve the relationship and being good to each other. You have to tell them that this aspect of our relationship is taking a toll on me and it's going to affect us if we don't do something about it. So I need you to perhaps change the way that you act in certain events or change the way that you are needing so many things from me. So these are the things and the principles that we can apply in all the relationships in our lives, even at work, even with colleagues who perhaps keep calling you after work. You have to be able to not take that phone call because you don't want to take that phone call. You have to be able to tell people that you cannot meet them on Saturday because you want to spend some time for yourself or you want to go out and do something else. You have to be able to tell the people you love and who love you, or also the people that you work with, that I cannot be so available to you. But you always have to come from a place of love for yourself and treat others with respect and compassion when you do set these boundaries. And it's better to set them sooner than let your emotions take over and come to a part where you explode at these people and then you're not being able to come from a loving and secure place and a place of compassion. Then you will just come from a place of anger. So we need to set the boundaries in time before we make them worse than they are. So always choose yourself and set the boundaries that you need to set in order to live your best life. Because how are you going to be able to be there for others if you're not there for yourself? Thank you so much for listening to this episode. I hope it helped. And if you have another perspective, please comment it in the comments and we'll discuss. Thank you so much.